Truth on the show.
Conversation. We're back.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But there's a lot going on. Holy cow, did you know there's an election going on, Mark?
There is. There's an election coming up, and it's coming up on us fast.
You think?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty.
What's the day count? What do you think the day count is?
Let's see. We have what is today? Today's Thursday, so less than 2 weeks. So 12 days, 11 days probably now at this point.
Well, hey, listen, if you're out there and you're tuning in or you hear us or you watch this later, I don't really care. Just watch it and listen, because we're going to talk about our candidates. We're going to talk about their candidates. And again, I go back to what you always said, Mark. We're just doing this to keep you informed. Are we one-sided? Of course. I mean, we're for the Republican Party, man.
That's right. It's this is our opinion. This is the things that we see, and of course, we're looking at things through our
lens,
our own lens. So, that's the way it is. And thank you. I was starting to struggle to hear myself.
Was the music. I got the wrong cue. Keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have a. So we're looking at what does it mean? What does the election mean for us? Why do we side with the Republican Party a little bit? Maybe what's the differences between the parties and things? And I think that's when it comes down to voting, that's what we really have to look at. And we actually put that out in our paper. Our paper went out this week.
Hopefully you got a copy of this. Let me just jam it in here for you. We sent this out. It went door to door. The paper had asked us to join in with theirs, because you probably just got the paper today, and it went door to door.
And we respectfully declined. I mean, that's fine. We felt like we can get ours out to more doors and get it out a little bit faster, and so we did that. And no offense to the paper, and we've had obviously a rocky relationship with the Meade County Messenger through the years, but it's they reached out. They gave us they reached out with the olive branch, and we as a party decided we declined, and no. So we left it like that, and it was fine. There was no.
Yeah, I think they did. And honestly, I'm looking at this paper. There's a lot of good information in it about all the candidates. I think that, Chad, I'll probably throw you a compliment. I appreciate you asking the same questions of all the candidates and just letting the voters choose without any sidebars. But I think that they're, there's just a lot of good information in this paper. I think it's informative. And this is what I like to see from a local paper than to try to tear the party lines. I might or might not have an objection about ad placement and availability, but I'll leave it clean from here. But for the most part, I think they did some very good justice for all of the candidates from a neutral standpoint as best as they could. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, overall, I thought that the paper was pretty fair. It doesn't seem very biased or anything. None of the stories that I read. And I think that they're informing, which is what we hope for.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, too, there was a lot of information came out of this, but I think there was a lot of information came out of ours, too. So you got a mailer. It came to you just like this paper did, and you're going to get another one from us because we're just relentless. Yeah, I read a book a long time ago. It was Good to Great. And then the guy came out with another book. It was called Good to Great Relentless. Phenomenal book. Encourage you to go out there and read it. But, that is where we're at. We're going to be relentless and keep you informed.
That's right.
And as the campaign progresses, there's a lot of different monies coming from everywhere. Interesting part of being involved in the party is you get all of that information.
That's right. Yeah,
because it's public.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. It's not just local. Our paper covers it covered Rand
State.
Paul. It covers Nancy Tate. It covers the amendments. The amendments. Actually, it probably covered the amendments more than just about anything else in our first edition there for this year, because we feel like it's very important to get these amendments passed. That they represent Meade County values, and we're asking all the Meade County voters to go out and vote. You can vote starting on November 3rd. You can vote November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's at the at the fairgrounds, and then on election day you can vote at the normal precincts. The precincts are. Let me see if I have pull that back up real quick because I didn't have that up. And then our
while you're doing that, I thought in the forum too, the why we vote. I was really glad to see the paper talk about getting out and vote with a couple of their different articles. I'll let you read for interpretation your own. But I thought that they did really good getting some outside articles. Ike Holt is a familiar article paper writer in the paper. He talks about why we vote, and I think that's been something we've been talking about for quite some time, especially in this. If you really want to get out and vote and ever want to vote in a campaign, it's always everybody wants to turn out for the presidential one. I'm going to tell you this one is probably the most important one because there's a state amendment to our Constitution, 2 of them. And the only way that that happens is through the people. So what you say at the poll in that booth, and I'll let you get back to your point, but what you say in the booth matters. And I really was kind of excited to see that in the article about why we vote. And, there was even Tom Emery wrote an article in here about how they used to be really vicious. And I honestly want to commend our the bipartisanship between Democrat and Republican. There hasn't been a lot of mudslinging. There's been some sign stealing and here and there. But
that's not always campaigns doing that. That's a lot of times that's overzealous supporters and things like that. We all know that.
Don't condone it as a party.
We don't condone it as a party. We don't want anyone going out stealing anybody's signs. We don't want somebody going out, marking up their signs or what have you. But what we want to do is, we want to get out and help our people. We want to work positively. You do have to differentiate your candidates. You do. That's that's our position in the party. We're trying to always differentiate our candidates from the Democratic Party candidates. But really and truly, there's something that's been going around in a couple of days, the last week or so, that that it doesn't really matter about what party you are on the local level, and I disagree with that. It does matter if your principles dictate that you're going to gravitate towards the Republican Party, and a lot of Meade Countyans have done that over the last 8+ years. We need to you should take those principles with you when you go in to vote and understand what you're voting for and who you're voting for. Does it mean that a local Democrat is going to believe 100% what their party says? Probably not. But what it does mean is that they're willing enough to sign the paperwork as a Democrat to say that they're a Democrat and that they'll believe it, that they believe in the Democratic Party, and which that platform just doesn't agree with most of us in Meade County. Well,
I think you covered a lot of things, and it's very difficult too because local is homegrown. People you grow up with, went to school with, and based on party lines drawn either by family association, long-term stuff. But I can definitely draw a line between our party and their party based off of the national. I'm just turned off by where the party is. I'm very happy with our party, both nationally and locally. But I kid not, if I was a Democrat, regardless of what my family affiliation was, and I have grandparents that were Democrats, but today's Democrat is not my grandparents' Democrat. And I just can't agree with policy the way it's going today. I just can't say, hey, I'm this, and do something completely different. It's just not possible.
That's right. My grandfather was too. My grandfather basically he shook his finger at me one day because I asked him if his initials were REP. So I said, hey, does that make you a Republican? I was probably about 7 years old, something like that. And he said, don't you talk to me like that. But it's a different time. It's the parties are the principles of the Republican Party have pretty much been the same, but I think the Democratic Party has moved away from especially your rural American
that's right
voter. And but let me get back to the voting dates real quick because I've got that open now. So absentee by mail, that deadline is already passed. You had to have the order in by October 25th, so earlier this week. Absentee in-person excused. Now this means If you are going to be out of town, or you're going to be a poll worker or something like that, then you can go into the courthouse and starting October 26th, so it's basically the 26th, 27th, 28th, and the 31st of October, and then November 1st and 2nd, you can walk into the Meade County Courthouse. You can go to the clerk's office, and you can sign an affidavit. Affidavit. Thank you. And an affidavit that says, "Hey, I'm not going to be in town. I need to vote. Can I go ahead and vote?" And you'll sign that, and they'll let you go in and vote. Now, of course, you need to be, when you sign an affidavit, you're saying basically under oath that you're not going to be here, and they have a good excuse. But it has to be one of the excuses that are listed, and they'll help you with that. So that's at the Meade County Courthouse, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., which is their normal business hours for the clerk's office. Absentee in person, no excuse. That's what a lot of people refer to as early voting. It's really called absentee in person, no excuse voting, which is November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's going to be at the Home and Garden Building at the fairgrounds, and that's going to start at 8 a.m. go to 4 p.m. on those 3 days. So next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the fairgrounds, you'll be able to vote early with no excuse. You can walk in and vote in
ID card in hand.
ID card in hand. That's right. Make sure they know who you are. And that's all precincts vote there.
That's right.
Right. So
For early voting.
So
if you have an excuse like, oh, they won't let me off of work, it's on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. So that's you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday in that no excuse time window. Then they have Election Day. So November 8th, the Tuesday, Election Day, you will have you'll be the Meade County High School, and all precincts in Meade County can actually vote at the high school. Then you'll have Muldrow City Hall, the precincts just A101, which is Muldrow, can vote at the Muldrow City Hall. Flaherty Elementary will be open for precincts A102, C101, C102, C103, and E103. And I'm sorry I don't have the actual precinct names, but I believe that's Grayhampton. Let's see, Grayhampton and Otter Creek, Woodland, and Flaherty. I'm not sure what E103 is. If that's Garrett or whatever, I'm not sure what that one is. So we'll have to get back to you on that one. And then Ekron Elementary will be open for E101 and E102, and then F105 will also be available there. And then Painville Elementary, if you're in precincts F101, F102, and F103. If your precinct was not listed there, everyone else goes to the high school and votes at the high school on Election Day. So get out and vote. They've made it so convenient. There's multiple choices here for you to be able to go and vote. There's excused absentee. There was mail-in absentee. My son, who's in the Navy, he applied and got his absentee ballot. I think it came in this week, and he's sending it in. And then you have just tons and tons. There's never been more choices in Meade County to vote. So there's no really excuse for us not to vote. Just get out and vote, and it's important. It's very, very important.
Well, so not only is it important to get out and vote, but on the amendments 1 and 2, there's been a lot of questions. I will tell you that not only is I thought there was a pretty decent article in today's paper. I think you should also go check out. But I also think that Nancy Tate has been on the forefront of talking about these two amendments. It is important that you know right now there's a lawsuit because after Roe v. Wade went away, there was a lawsuit in Kentucky because the trigger law went into effect that it's not lawful to have an abortion in the state of Kentucky. But there's a big lawsuit against that. If you vote yes to Amendment 2, then you're voting for pro-life because what will be in the Kentucky Constitution, which is also on the ballot, which we'll be talking about tonight, it spells out the specific language that it will not, let me see if I can read it. You've got the ballot. Let me see the.
Yeah, here's the ballot here.
But the specific language and that no court, basically, no one can determine for you that an abortion is lawful.
So what it'll say is there is to protect human life, nothing in this Constitution shall be construed to secure or protect a right to abortion, or require the funding of an abortion.
Which means that your state, your tax dollars, nothing about the money that you spend can or will be used to encourage or entice individuals to have an abortion and then be funded by taxpayers to stop the problem. The way it was kind of asked to me this week, and I thought it was important because it's a tough conversation. So if your 16-year-old daughter goes out and has sex, gets pregnant, and they decide, well, we'll just throw it in the trash, we'll just have an abortion, that will not be an option unless a medical condition, that's a private conversation between her and her doctor that determines that her life is more important than the child's life and that the child could cause damage. That's exactly what this law is doing for.
Yeah.
It's not saying that it's going to protect life, but it's not going to protect your stupidity.
Yeah, there's no, there's nothing in the law that says that if the mother's life is at stake, right, that it is that they can't have an abortion. It's that's an unfortunate circumstance that we would obviously we're saddened for both sides of that, because I wouldn't want to make that decision. But
that's a medical decision between you and your doctor.
Yeah, and most mothers, they want to have the baby, they want to give baby life. But in those cases, it's a terrifying decision they have to make. But there's nothing in the current law that says that they can't do that. It just says it's the Kentucky law regulates abortion to an extent that you can't use it as a contraceptive, right? You can't you can't go back in time and say, oops, I should have wore a condom, or oops, I didn't take my pill that day, or something like that. That's what it's trying to eliminate.
Yeah.
It's not trying to say that there's not medical reasons for having an abortion. As a Christian, I hate to hear the word. Going to be upset with me for sharing this, but we had a miscarriage early on in our marriage, and
so we have a caller. Mark, I thought you weren't ever going to talk about that on the radio. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going.
So I mean, and in that instance, it says on there that was a spontaneous abortion, and we hated that, right? As Christians, we don't want to ever have our name on, something, but that's the medical term for an abortion, right?
Sure.
And for a miscarriage. So, but now that bothered us as, just from our.
Well, because you lost something that was precious. So, but to this topic, this removes these Planned Parenthood organizations that have preyed upon low-income families, folks that can't afford stuff. And I mean, I've watched so many episodes of behind the scenes, behind the activities of Planned, because there's so much profit from big pharma that came out of Planned Parenthood and the abortions, from stem cell research to all kinds of stuff. So, hey, great that you profited by the use of our taxpayer dollars. Not going to happen no more.
That's right. We can get into the religious background and things, but I think that when you think about it, an abortion for the reasons that we see, it's one of the most, it's almost a selfish act,
right?
Because what you're saying is your life is more important than another life, and that you.
And your indiscretions should not be interrupted by this thing we call life.
And it's a tough. That is such a tough. It's a tough thing. I don't want to. I hate to think about that somebody's making that decision, and man, millions and millions of babies have lost their lives because of that.
Hey, Mark, I tell you what, let's cut to a break real fast. We're going to change the subject when we get back. We'll be right back right after this.
Hello, neighbors. I am Troy Koch. Holding the office of Judge Executive of Meade County requires proven leadership. That is why I am running for the office as your Republican candidate. I am a retired general officer from the U.S. Army with 37 years of leadership experience, with the same family values as the lifelong residents of Meade County. I'm about conservative growth of this county and controlled spending to ensure we are answering the needs of all our residents. I support conservative growth with the proper infrastructure to support small business and our farming community. I support conservative growth that welcomes industrial development and the housing needs of the newest members of our community. I believe in pro-life, and I believe in the Second Amendment of our U.S. Constitution. More importantly, I am voting yes to Amendments 1 and 2 of the Kentucky Constitution. If you believe in transparency of our local government, then vote Troy Koch on November 8th as we bring Meade County into the future.
Paid for by the committee to elect Troy Koch.
I am Troy Koch, and I approve this message.
All right, Mark, we're back.
Yep, we are back. So we want to go through the ballot a little bit, right, and understand what's on, who's coming up, and what we're asking everyone to do. So, on the ballot is mostly all the local elections this year. So we have, the judge executive, which you just heard on the ad from Troy Koch. And obviously we want to go out and vote for Troy Koch this November. And we also have the property valuation administrator. That would be Gabe Chapman. Then we also are looking at the county attorney is Sydney Durham. She's already won. She's unopposed. So congratulations to Sydney Durham, who's going to be our next county attorney. Such a wonderful lady and great family. And let's see, we have county clerk is running as Susan Masterson. So we're asking everyone to go out and vote for Susan. Susan's been doing this for a long time, and she's been the chief deputy for the last 6 years, I think it is. Mm-hmm. It means she's managed the office. She's done everything that you can do.
I've got a clip from her. I can play it.
Well, let's do that here in a bit after we get a couple other ones here. Yep. So we have the sheriff, Philip Wimpy. He is, this is his second election. So I think that, he's done a really good job in this first 4 years. Obviously there's some things that some people think that he could have done better. And we had a primary this year, but all in all, I think that Philip's done a really good job, and I appreciate him putting himself out there and continue to serve the county the way he does. He cares so much.
He does.
He really does. And JJ Scarborough is our jailer. He's running unopposed. So congratulations to JJ. Thanks for continuing to serve. Let's see, skipping down to magistrate of the first district. That's Tom Goddard. Tom has he's been there and experienced. He's very experienced. Mm-hmm. He's done really good work for the first district. He's helped secure funding and things for Muldrow in the first district, but sometimes Muldrow just for some reason politically wouldn't always accept the money, is what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I could go into a big long story, and I won't keep the podcast going too long. But for that. Tom is your guy. I got it. You got party lines, but Tom has fought for a share of the monies that have come out from the federal mm-hmm. government that have come to the state through Nancy Tate, through the magistrates, for projected goals that were needed to accomplish. And I say that because one individual is continuously taking credit for all of that. And this goes back to why Troy's running his office, is because it's not about grandstanding and taking credit for something that you did not do. And, in Tom's case, he very much did go and ask for money. But the city mayor, who he's up against in this campaign, said, nah, we don't need it. Didn't fill out the paperwork. Didn't ask for it. The city council didn't do their job. And I'm sorry, but under leadership of the mayor, you don't let that happen, because then the burden is passed on the taxpayer, and that's unfortunate.
And that's, that's why you need somebody like Tom going to bat for you. He's pulling this, doing everything he can for his district. And man, he is really, he's out there working. He's working hard. He takes nothing for granted, and he wants to. He talks to his constituents. He's trying to get out and hear from them. And I think that he's doing a really good job, and I think that he'll continue to serve well for the 1st District. So go out and vote for Tom Goddard if you're in the Muldrow or Grayhampton districts or precincts. Donald Eli Dix is the 2nd District Magistrate, and he is unopposed. So congratulations to Donnie there. And let's see.
So I had a question about this. There's a lot of constable positions that are open. So when a voter goes to the poll and they see these constables, I think of a constable. That's the guy that's going around policing up the kids who are skipping school, right? But what is the constable, and why do we not have anybody running for these offices for each of the districts?
They're unpaid offices, is what it is. So the funding and such for the constables were removed a long time ago. It takes a constitutional amendment, I believe, to remove them as a
position.
As a position. So again, it's
what authorities do they have?
Well, I mean, it's maybe a little less clear now than it used to be, because they used to have basically standard policing duties. So we've had some of these guys are actually out. They just don't have their stuff paid for and things like that.
I could just see how helpful they would be with drug enforcement, our youth, organizations. I could see how they could be very helpful with social services, and trying to work with these homes.
I would say, but it's an unpaid position, right? There's no funding for it at all, really, and so that's why you don't see a lot of people running for it.
I'd be surprised we didn't have volunteer firemen who wanted to do that job too. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's
interesting.
There's a lot of people. I mean, we've actually tried to recruit some people to run for the constable positions, but it's when they find out it's an unpaid position and that they would basically have to flip the bill for all their equipment and such. Now, there's some people who take that duty very seriously and they do it. And so there's a handful of people in the county that do run for the constable, and you can see those on the ballot. But we're really nobody's really focusing on those races, and just because over the years that their powers and things have been limited. So, moving on to the 3rd District, you have 3rd District. You have William or Billy Sipes. He's our Republican out there. Billy's out there. He's a farmer. He's represented the farmers well. He's worked really hard since the day Nucor announced and everyone found out that the granary was going to have to move. He's been working hard to try to make sure that happens. So I know all the Republicans did, all the magistrates. I'm not going to say just Republicans, because they all did. As soon as they realized that that Nucor and what was it, CBG or CGB, whatever the name of that company was, Consolidated Grain and Barge, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Once they said, okay, well, we're not going to be compatible here, and we're not going to be able to find another place in Meade County, they immediately started working on, okay, what does this mean? How do we make the farmers? How do we get the farmers a granary back and to say, try to get them money now? Obviously, there was nothing really, no one was really thinking through where the monies are going to come from and things like that. But they've put this process together. They've worked really hard. They've got some things going now, and yes, it's probably going to end up in Mockport. But that's going to save our farmers a considerable amount of money when you figure that they just have to drive across the river. It's going to be an extra mile or so. It's not going to be actually, in a lot of cases, it's probably as closer. But we'll see how it goes. And they're trying to get all that put together right now. And I think it's still in last I heard, it's still in its preliminary stages of going through all the approvals and what's it called when you're doing the environmental and things like that.
I got
studies.
Got it.
So more to come on that, but those guys have been working on that. Billy is part of that group. Billy and I think Gary Chapman are both on that
for the granary.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then so that brings us to Gary Chapman, 4th District Magistrate. He is unopposed. So congratulations to Gary. And thanks. He's my magistrate, so I really appreciate all the work he's done for our district, and and he's Brandenburg's part of his district, so that's he's done a really good job, and a lot of times a lot of people think so. So, and then in the 5th district, that's Steve Wardrop, and Steve Wardrop is again running unopposed and over there. Now they're running unopposed, but they did have both of those guys, Gary and Steve, did have a primary, so they still had they still had a lot of work to do. They got out in
little competition.
That's right. So kept them spry and out meeting people. And then our 6th district magistrate candidate is Trey Webb, and Trey's run I think once before. But he's out there. He's trying to, he really loves the 6th district. He is, he's a constitutionalist. He he thinks he looks at the Constitution and it says this is what it says, and this is how it affects all of us. And he wants to make sure that our government is run accordingly, and he wants to protect our rights as citizens, even on the local level, to make sure that we're getting all the things that everything's being done the way it's supposed to be done. So. Good for Trey out there. I'm hoping that we can all get out and vote for him in the 6th district. That's again coming up Tuesday, November 8th, and that was all the local countywide races. I don't think I missed any there. And then of course, when we get to the statewide, or the state level, you get to or the federal level, I should say. With the state level, you have Nancy Tate, who is running unopposed as the candidate for the 27th district state representative. And so, thanks again, Nancy, for all you do. You have worked so hard for Meade County, the 27th district as a whole. And I really thank Nancy for all the hard work she puts in for all the candidates. She's put in tons of time and effort to come and help all the other candidates, and I think it's an awesome thing when she doesn't have a race, right? She doesn't have to be out here, but she's out here with everyone.
She has been cracking on some doors and doing some other things too. Tonight there's actually a meet and greet. I know she's over with one of the church groups and talking to a lot of the pastors here in Meade County
specifically about the amendments.
That's right, and providing clarity.
Yep. So, and then you have Rand Paul running for U.S. Senator. So, Rand Paul is well liked here, and we need to continue to give him our support. We need everyone to go out and vote for Rand. And he's going to be here. He's going to be in Elizabethtown November 1st. He's going to be there on flying into the airport. So, if anybody wants to go out and meet and greet him out there. I think he's going to be out there at around 11 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, November 1st. And then there's Brett Guthrie, our U.S. representative for the 2nd congressional district in Kentucky, and he has an opponent, and he needs us to get out and vote hard, and vote for him, and make sure that he. Make sure that we send him back there, and make sure, because right now we're on the cusp of a Republican majority. I saw the numbers today that it looks like if you take out if you look at the polling, it looks like the Republican Party is going to be able to take back the Senate. For sure, the House of Representatives. Right now, it's pretty much it's almost completely a done deal that the Republican Party will be the majority in the House, but they could pick up as many as 40 seats. Right? If you look at Real Clear Politics and 538, they both show that the Republican Party is that Republicans are could pick up as few as 8 seats. And as many as 47. So, and most of the averages are looking around getting close to that 40 mark right now.
Well, so here's my thing, right? We're getting close to the point where we've got all this back. So what do we do with it? And I think there's already a whole bunch of momentum to kind of undo a lot of wrongs. But without that executive power, it's going to be a lot of work for them to clean up a mess that's been left, and then wait till the presidential election. So we got 2 years to drum through now that they're in office, and we're going to get beat up. Well, you took over the House and the Senate and you didn't do anything for us, because look what you put us in. It's going to take a pile of work to clean up the mess, and then, pray that we have a sensible process for the election. And which is funny, because if you look at Georgia, remember all the complaints about, it's not fair that you want to ID people. It's called voter suppression, those old Jim Crow laws and all this other stuff. Kentucky has done a fabulous job at making sure that we have the, you got to have your identification. And by the way, all the dead voters are now off the rolls, so you don't have to worry about the mistake of somebody dead voting, which was proven. I mean, there's enough. Go Google it, guys. You know the truth. It's out there. So now you've got a legitimate election occurring. I honestly, personally, if you let me be a mayor or a city official or a county official, which is never going to happen. And for the record, I think that's even on the Troy's back page of the paper. I don't know if y'all noticed that. I kept holding it up, but that Troy's on the back page. Every time you open up a page or turn, it's right there. But it talks about don't believe the disinformation. Troy's not hiring me or anybody else that's a friend or a buddy. That's not how he works. But back to my point, if we don't move forward when we take these seats with some type of progress, we're going to be blamed for it. But if I was the guy for the day, I would tax you more money if you didn't vote. You would get a discount. I would say I'd tax you more money. I wouldn't raise your taxes, but if you didn't vote, if you voted, you get a discount.
Well, that's a little tough, because that goes back to the old days of.
But I'm encouraging everybody to vote
and things. But I'm
encouraging everyone to vote. There's a benefit for you to vote.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. You're just trying to figure out how do we get people engaged, and how we make sure that they want to they care enough to actually show up. And that's a tough thing. I mean, back when I ran.
That's why I'm not running for office, by the way. I was just saying, you'll record this. I'll be president someday, and you'll be like, you remember when you wanted to tax everybody? Yeah, this will be the first thing. Go ahead, but I'm sorry. I'm joking.
Well, I mean,
I jest.
I know you do. It's a, but in the grand scheme of things, people care. What I was going with that was there's a statistic that says that 86% of people make up their mind to who they're going to vote for in the last 2 weeks of an election. Right?
That's where we're at right now.
Yep, we're right here. So that means 86% of the people are making up their mind right now, and they said the other 14% are partisan. There's 7% are Republican, or 6.5% are Republican, and 6.5% are Democrat, and then the other 1% are others. But it's pretty much that's what it is. We're in the 6%, right? We're in that 6.5% range where we're partisan, and that's okay. I mean, you have to have people. I think you have to have people like us that are willing to work within the parties. We have counterparts in the Democratic Party that are pushing for their people and pushing for their principles, and that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have, I wish we had more, we had more opportunities to debate and actually talk to one another about these things and go through these things and share why we believe what we believe. I think that we would have a lot better opportunity. But that's why we're here. We're here saying this is why we believe what we do.
That's right.
And we're willing to talk to anybody that wants to come on and share with us.
You can call in right now if you're listening.
Yeah, that's right.
You got something to say. Say
270-945-3418. We have the phone is open.
The lines are open. Hold on. Hey, let's take a quick cut. I want to play you the GOP message and let me tell you. You tell us what you think.
Hello, I'm Troy Koch, and I'm running for Judge Executive, Meade County.
I'm Tom Goddard, 1st District Magistrate.
Hello, I'm Billy Sipes. I'm your 3rd District Magistrate.
I'm Gary Chapman, Magistrate of the 4th District. I'm Steve Wardrop, 5th District Magistrate.
And I want you to know how important it is to get out and vote November 8th.
We have seen a lot over the last 4 years, and now Democrat policies are bringing us on the brink of a major recession.
With gas prices at the pump, inventory shortages in our grocery stores, with the increased cost of goods, not to mention the threat of losing valuable resources for heat this winter.
It's time to make our voice heard and send a message all the way to D.C. by checking the box for straight Republican ticket. I also want you to draw your attention to Amendments 1 and 2 and vote yes. Support our legislature and the right to life.
Vote Republican, November 8th.
Paid for by the Meade County Republican Party.
270-945-3418.
Wow, we're back. It's
Yeah.
coming in. So that was our video we just put out, or our audio we put out on the radio.
Yep.
Spent time right here in this studio putting all that together, and I thought it was very cool. We got them all together, put the scripts together, and then had the conversation, all equally sharing in that same value. And there's a lot of concerns coming up with this election. I mean, the policies that we're under right now have caused great strain to families and hardship. There can be a lot of finger pointing, but right now we just need to get results.
It made me think, this makes me think about what does it take to be in the, to run an election and things, when you're in the local party like this in small town politics, you have to wear many, many hats. You have to be, like you said, a script writer. You have to be able to write articles, and you have to be able to put a lot of graphics together,
Sure.
and video and things like
Run
that.
a show.
Run a show. And then not just that, you have to run meetings and things. You have to keep things on schedule. You have to put meet and greets together. You have to get door to door.
A lot of those been going on lately.
Phone calls, yeah. So it's a it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people that come and help us with that. And we want to make sure that we talk to that on one of our coming shows, that we want to just thank everybody and kind of go through that with who's been in the trenches with us and things like that. So I have a couple of events that are coming up besides voting on November 8th. We're also going to have our victory party for the Republican Party at Roberts Family Farm at the venue.
Yeah.
We'll be out there from about 6 to 9 p.m.
Till the polls come in, and
the polls come in, and we'll have a little celebration. It's going to be a potluck, so everybody just bring a little something they want to share, we'll have the venue there, and we'll talk a little bit, and we'll listen to the radio, and we'll see who the results are coming in. We'll see if we can't get some people out at the different sites and get the numbers off the door and do some calculating and have a little fun.
Yeah. So I not only that event, but there are meet and greets. There's one tonight. I think we're pretty much done with the meet and greets this
I think
week.
there's one more next week they're trying to put together. I don't know all the details yet, but I think they're trying to do it next. I think they're trying to do it on Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday, November 1st.
So if you haven't met any of the GOP candidates, I will tell you that in the paper, I don't know why I keep promoting them, but okay, in the paper there, you can meet every one of these candidates. They've left the contact information if you want to be an informed voter. Put everything else aside. Pick up the number and call them. Ask them your questions.
Ask them.
I got questions like, I did notice that we, competitive edge. I've been helping Troy's campaign, and of course, I get these mailers and flyers from all of the candidates, and there's some things that are. It says we have, so I can't say that somebody's saying I have, but we have, and I got it's where did you get that money? How did you do all that? You can't pin that on one single person because there's a great
people
great
put a lot of things on their advertising that they're trying to build themselves up, and we get that.
Absolutely.
Right?
But there's more to picking up the phone.
There's more to that than just saying it. So
Yeah,
you have to be able to work together. You have to and look, all the magistrates on the Republican side have been out supporting Troy and they really are looking forward to working with him. And so, they
Dynamic leader.
yeah, and he is he's ready to go. He's ready to come out and work for us. Gabe Chapman's ready to come out and work for us. Gabe is he's a school teacher, a math teacher, so he understands the math.
It's kind of important to do in the PVA office.
It is.
Math is a problem.
It is. So he's right there, and he's his experience there, and man, he's such a good listener. He's such a great. He's one of the things that Gabe's looking at right now is, hey, what are all the benefits that that the law has for? What are the tax benefits that people can have, and how does he communicate those better to individuals? What discounts and things are out there available for him? How does he make that happen? What is it? Can he do that through the web? Can he do it through things in the office and advertising as whatever is out there? What are those? Listener. He's such a great. So he's he's looking at he's looking at all those things, and he's like, hey, how can we do a better job communicating? He's not one that's going to say, hey, the current PVA is a bad person or anything. Because everybody. I really believe in my heart that everybody in Meade County really has Meade County's best interest at heart. The biggest difference is just how we execute on things and how much, how far can we move forward, Meade County, instead of saying the same old, how do we move ourselves forward and do it together? Well, make sure that we keep, all the different aspects of Meade County in mind and in play. So how do the farmers fit into it? How do we bring industry in? How do we where do the residents go? What can the residents, what kind of how does planning and zoning fit into our lives? And I think that really and truly, I really feel I really feel deep down that Republicans have got better answers right now than the Democrats do. And that's what we're trying to convey and trying to differentiate.
Especially with the judge executive office, I think that there is a bigger gap between experience and expertise in working federal level, local level, and state level objectives and coordinating with individuals. So. Is that somebody actually calling in? Or?
No, that's my phone.
Ah, wow.
I didn't silence it.
No worries. We're not that big and famous yet, folks, but hopefully you watch this back and get some of your own insights from this. But, I firmly believe that Troy answered the question better in the paper when you ask what is the first thing you plan to do. His opposition went into 5 different directions. And, of course, that there is. It's a tough question to answer. There's a lot of things, but Troy's first instinct is to come in here and do exactly what needs to be done for our farmers and the infrastructure that goes with that vacuum, right?
Yeah.
You put this in place. You need to be able to get to the granary, just like the industrial development needs to be able to have roads to get to the industrial development. So import export of goods is a ready available flow for the economy, and then. How can you have all of this growth and development, but yet you don't have enough houses here to house the workforce? So there has to be a visual description that the people can see, smell, taste, and touch, other than a bunch of fast food restaurants.
Yeah, and how does infrastructure affect that? And Troy knows how infrastructure affects that, and how you can use and build the infrastructure in the right place. Yeah. It's more than just running pipes out here or right there. You have to make sure you're running it in the right place with the right vision of where it needs to go, where it needs to be in 10 years, not just today. I mean, he's talked about a shared
vision.
Yeah, and bringing and asking questions about knowing what questions just to ask is just to make people think about, hey, did we think about where this road's going to go?
That was the biggest question that's come out through door knocking is, who's the idiot who decided to put in the new Dairy Queen and then you just pull right out onto a major bypass without, there's a back road, an access road. You could have easily input a light or a pathway to get to a light so you can make that transition much safer. It's the second, third, fourth order effects, not like
I wouldn't call anybody an idiot on it, but
not an idiot. Bad choice of words. There were multiple multiple people.
But it's like, there's a lot of people who are working on that, and
sorry.
there's a lot of people that need to.
Yeah, please don't take that the wrong way. That's not what I meant. I just meant that
they didn't ask the question. Nobody asked the question of what can we do to make this better
until an accident happened, and then boom. Yeah,
and so
it's
whether or not it's because the fast food restaurants are there, if you can take one of those out, would it have made a difference? Somebody would have went across it. It could have been one. Dairy Queen by itself could have been right there. Yeah, nothing else. And somebody would have tried to cross that.
Well, see, that's why we have more than one person talking, because you get a clarity. But I don't mean that in a negative way, but I just know Troy's expertise. There's a second, third, fourth order effect. There's more questions that he's going to ask. And the way he plans on running the office is through the people. Town halls on a frequent and regular basis, so that before they make, judgments in the with the magistrates is, his method is to make sure all parties are informed so that they can make the best decisions. And, a lot of times it looks like a shiny object, oh, we need this. For the longest time we've needed law enforcement, and I think Wimpy for being standing up, having his ducks together, and he said, hey, look, we're growing. We need more officers. Easy decision to make by the magistrates, and brought before by Wimpy in front of the court. And that's an easy win, right? Because we know we're growing and we need that law enforcement on the ground. I think there's a ratio too that even tells you, like, for every amount of population, you're supposed to have law enforcement on the ground. And we're not about defunding the police. So
no,
situations like that are easy to come to a decision to, in my opinion, with a Republican stronghold. But if you start getting into where you're starting to grow the county and develop it, if we're just slapping Band-Aids and baling wire at stuff, we're creating long-term problems, not to near-term solutions.
Yeah,
that's not how we need to move forward.
And I started to write an article in the paper, in our paper, for about that. It's like, where's the if you're just going to, you can't just throw money at things. For years and years and years, especially on the federal government, they would just write checks and write checks and write checks. And the thing is that,
where do you think half the funding came from? It was the federal government's $1 trillion, bajillion dollar expense at the recovery for COVID.
Yeah, all of those funds are going away. They're not going to be there forever.
No, we're going to be paying for them forever.
So it's good for us to use that money and try to, because they're trying to use that money to create jobs and things like that. But it's not solid.
Right.
This is just a facade of monies that are coming into the communities, and eventually it dries up. And once it does, where are you going to be left? So you can't really consider that to be solid growth. Mm-hmm. It's a spike. It creates spikes. That's what's creating inflation. So you have to be careful of what are the consequential effects of that money coming in. How many people got the COVID money that was meant for, that should have been for, that COVID money should have been the $2,400 that we got twice or whatever it was, and that money should have been for those people who were not working, that couldn't work because COVID got them knocked out or whatever, but everybody got it. And how many people went and built decks? How many people? And that's okay, because it funded the hardware stores, it funded the lumber yards, and that's okay. But it's at the same time,
really,
it created.
Really? How about all the people that spent that money on what's it called, digital currency, and some of them are millionaires, like, because of certain digital currencies.
And it's just like, what I mean. So, but the point is that now that money is going to go away. Mm-hmm. So now inflation has been driven up because there was no money left. There's no so much money was put in. Mm-hmm. And anytime you put a lot of money into a system, the system takes the money.
Sure.
Right? Why does healthcare cost so much? Right? Well, I used to say this all the time, and I still do, is, at one time, your rural doctors were paid with chickens. Now, I'm not trying to go back to that, and I'm not blaming a doctor for taking this
That's
paycheck.
a cheap bill. I'll pay a chicken any day. But
you know what I mean?
You can't even buy a rotisserie chicken for $6 anymore.
Being a doctor was more about being a servant in those days. And we're talking 150 years ago. We're not talking 50 years ago or even. But what we're talking about is one of the things that's happened is we started buying insurance, and when we started buying insurance takes a pool of money from all of its members, and it puts it into the system. Well, the system pulls it out, right? So doctors, hospitals, all those people are saying, hey, we can we charge more and more and more. Pharmaceuticals charge more and more and more. Why? The people aren't paying it. The insurance is. Meanwhile, our rates go up and up and up and up. Now you're paying insurance. You're paying high deductibles.
That we could have paid for chicken.
And back in the day, doctor would come up.
But you also knew whose house the doc lived in. You knew whose house the judge lived in because, pay and entitlements are incremental to the level of education.
But I just use that as an analogy. Anytime you put more money into a system, the more money things are going to cost within that system.
Sure.
Whether it's medical, whether it's lumber, whether it's car insurance, whatever. Once more money is available into the system, everybody starts pulling money out of that system. Yeah. And that's what you see.
So, listen, as we're getting close to the end of the show, I'll come back to you, Mark, for the final thoughts. But I would tell you all that there is a lot of information about your candidates out there. There is a lot of disinformation. I would say that on both sides, there's been a lot of effort to keep it clean. I'm very happy to have been a part of a very clean race because citizens of Meade County deserve that. I think that the mudslinging is just not where we need to go. But I do think you need to do your fact search. Opinions are one thing, but there are facts that support other information. And having that together, besides listening to a couple of guys sit here and tell you what we think, I think it's important that we've provided you a platform through the Meade Truth to get information, hear a different perspective, and make your own conclusion. And from that, we've also produced the Meade Truth, the paper, which goes more into detail about the candidates and straightforward, much like our neighbors, the Meade Messenger has done in this article. I think there's some great feedback. It's coming directly from the candidates. I think that's a great comparison for you. We realize that out there's going to be some hardliners. They're going to be hardlined like we are, and there's going to be hardlined on the opposition, and that's fine too. But what I will tell you is that if you click that box that says straight Republican ticket, don't forget the bottom of the ballot. But if you click the box that says straight Republican ticket, and if a majority of our voters from this county click that, that is going to ripple all the way to Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
The more counties that do that in the state of Kentucky, the more counties that do that in our neighboring states, the more red states that continue to send a message clearly to D.C. that you are on the wrong path by voting a straight Republican ticket, even when a Democratic voter does that, it is a strong, loud, and clear message that we were off the tracks. I would tell you this, that if we were that prominent as a Republican Party and we were off the tracks, I would expect our Democratic opposition to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's why we call them hard right and hard left. Somewhere in the middle, there's a compromise. And we just have not seen that over the last few years, and we have got to course correct this country. We've got to control our borders. The drugs that are flowing into this country are going to affect our county at some point in time. They already do. They affect the recidivism rate in our county. And as we grow by population, so too does that problem grow. And we do not have enough infrastructure to support the housing needs of our future and the growth that this county is going to have in its future. And we need strong leadership that's going to get us there. We've already seen it in the current and existing magistrates. And we hope to see that when you vote for Troy Koch, because I know you will, but you don't know until you vote. I can tell you that a lot of the growth that you've seen in Meade County and the accomplishments are not done by a single person alone. They've been done by the support of the magistrates. And God rest his soul, Jerry Lynn has already set a wave of motion that is irreversible momentum, as I like to call it. And somebody that shares the same compassion and love for the citizens of this community, Troy Koch, you will find that as well. And with that, I leave to you the rest of the story. that Mark and I, in our efforts to set up the Mead Truth, will constantly continue to work to keep you informed and use this platform to send a message across Meade County citizens and keep you questioning and keep you asking. Because the more voter turnout that we get for this community means more attention to the dollars that are spent for every citizen on behalf of your taxpayer dollars in this county. Mark, I'll turn it over to you for some closing remarks.
Yep. Just to echo what you were saying, we are right now very partisan, but we care and love this county. I've lived here most of all my life, and I really love the people here, all of them. It's a family, and whether they've been here for 10 minutes or whether they've been here for 100 years. We're all family. We've all chosen to be here. We all chose to live amongst each other. So thank you all for listening to us. Thank you all for your support. And we ask that you guys, get out and vote. And one last event I forgot to say, we are having our Christmas party at the venue at Roberts Family Farm. That's going to be on December 15th. And that's going to be from the 6 to 8 p.m. And we're working on getting the Republican gubernatorial candidates in there. We're working on that. We haven't got it confirmed yet. But that's our goal. So more to come on that.
And of course, we will be broadcasting live at some of these big public events, and I hope that we can continue to grow with the transparency that plans to come with the election and the people that you elect. But from me, Steve Lake, Mark Burnett, we just want to tell you, hey, thanks for tuning in. Hope you watch us in a recording later at your leisure. But get out and vote. Call these candidates and ask them. Ask them the questions that they couldn't answer in the paper. Mm-hmm. Look back at some of our old episodes, and you decide who are you going to vote for on November the 8th.
Yep.
Guys, good night.
Good night. Vote Republican.